Exactly 40 years ago, in millions of homes, maybe yours, entire families were eagerly looking through this holiday catalog from Sears. So what happened? And what's in store for the store that used to set the pace for American retailing? Our cover story is reported by David Pogue.
Dear Mr. Sears and Roebuck, I've been sitting here thumbing through your book.
At its peak, Sears Roebuck was the biggest retailer in the world. Its headquarters was the tallest building in the world.
One of America's great merchant companies is Sears Roebuck.
It was the biggest employer in America and was even America's biggest publisher, thanks to its famous catalog. But then,
Sears has officially filed for bankruptcy.
The company has struggled for years after it dominated the department store business for much of the 20th century.
Today, many of the Sears stores you grew up with look like this. Did you ever know this as a Sears? Were you ever here?
Yeah, I was here. I used to shop in here.
This Sears at the Paramus Park Mall in New Jersey is about to become a Stu Leonard's grocery store. Stu Leonard Jr. is the CEO.
I've always looked at Sears as a great retailer. And now to see us taking over a Sears, I will sit there and say, boy, we have to keep changing too as retailers.
Sears was founded 125 years ago by a railroad man named Richard Sears. With his partners, Alva Roebuck and later Julius Rosenwald, he figured out that America's new railroads and the Postal Service's package delivery would let them deliver products to small towns all over the country. Sears sold everything you'd ever need, from cradle to grave. Everything for the house, including the whole house.
No greater anti-communist propaganda could be disseminated in Russia or elsewhere than a few thousand of the 40 million copies of Sears catalogs put out each year.
They took elite artifacts that only wealthy people had, made them accessible to people who were rising up through this new thing called the middle class.
Don Katz is the author of The Big Store, an inside look at Sears written in 1986. He says Sears didn't invent the future only once. In 1925, the company's then vice president Robert Wood launched Sears' second act, opening physical stores.
He decided that the automobile was the key to what was going to happen to commerce in America. And he began to buy the crossroads outside of cities and towns all over the country.
Those crossroads eventually became the suburbs. And when Americans moved in, Sears was waiting. You make it sound like Sears was this incredibly innovative company at the beginning.
Completely innovative. They were inventing consistently.
Sears people will tell you that the real satisfactions come from building into a job a part of yourself.
In its heyday, Sears offered job benefits like profit sharing and generous pensions. No wonder so many employees stayed with the company for decades.
This end table came from Sears, and the two wing backs came from Sears.
Bobby Jones worked at Sears for 35 years.
Recliner.
And filled his house with its products.
This is a Kenmore dishwasher, microwave oven. This table and chairs and the china cabinet came from Sears. The drapes came from Sears. From my very first memory as a child, the Sears catalog was there in our house. The majority of the clothes, shoes, was ordered from Sears. My mother even ordered her fruitcake each Christmas from Sears.
But over the years, innovation slowed and things began to change.
Sears became increasingly inwardly focused, as many businesses that become very successful and very large do, to their peril.
Mark Cohen was once the CEO of Sears Canada. Today, he teaches retail studies at Columbia University. He says that Sears could have survived the competition from Walmart, Home Depot, and even Amazon. What ultimately doomed Sears, he says, was bad leaders. Especially billionaire investor Edward Lampert, who bought Sears in 2004 and merged it with Kmart.
Today, Kmart went shopping and came home with Sears.
Lampert has sold off Sears brands and real estate and closed hundreds of stores. Of the 2,300 Sears locations 8 years ago, only about 500 remain open today. Lampert has publicly defended his efforts to turn the company around, and in an email to Sears employees, he blamed the bankruptcy in part on today's, quote, difficult retail environment. After declining our repeated requests to interview Lampert, Sears yesterday provided a statement that reads in part, protecting the interests of Sears associates and all stakeholders has and will continue to be a priority for the management.
Is it possible that Sears was already behind the times, doomed to go out of business when Lampert came along, and that he really wasn't the tipping point?
Well, I believe in 2005, when Lampert took over, the company could have been resurrected. Amazon still was in a very nascent position. Sears still had a tremendous reputation, especially in brands like Kenmore, Craftsman, and Die Hard. And so there was no reason to believe the company had to, quote unquote, fail.
Many retirees at this Sears reunion in Atlanta can't understand why Sears couldn't turn its successful catalog business into a successful internet store.
Get the orders in, get the merchandise out, and get it out fast.
Sears could have had control of that just like Amazon many years ago. And this, I guess...
They gave it away.
Didn't give it away, that's right.
Well, good point. After predicting the impact of the railroad and then the highway system, how could Sears miss the rise of the internet? Well, it didn't.
Connect Prodigy to your computer and get stock quotes almost as fast as a broker.
Remember the early online service called Prodigy? It was a joint venture between Sears, IBM, and CBS.
Get sports scores faster than on TV. Shop at home.
11 years before Jeff Bezos founded Amazon.com. It was just a little ahead of its time.
What happens when you lose your way is you don't even know what you have anymore.
20 years after writing his book about Sears, Don Katz left journalism to found the audiobook company Audible, which in 2008 was bought by Amazon. He says all companies, even his own, can learn from what happened to Sears.
They needed to reinvent themselves in a really disruptive way. It just didn't happen.
The remaining Sears stores are still open for the holidays, and just last week, Edward Lampert's hedge fund offered to buy the company out of bankruptcy for $4.6 billion, saying they believed in Sears's, quote, potential to evolve. But retail professor Mark Cohen isn't optimistic.
The company has zero chance of success. I hate to say that because there's still quite a few people, in the U.S. at least, who look to Sears for their employment, but there's no chance for the future there, in my opinion.
You walk in, you hit the farmer's market, then you're going to hit the bakery right over there.
And at that Stu Leonard's grocery store in New Jersey, the only bit of Sears that will remain is a lesson.
It's just a message to all businesses in America. You know, you have to change. Just as a good reminder for us, we have to change every day.